Welcome to the fish tank.
Hey everybody, Fishman here. This is the second installment in my video series of a complete build of a 175 gallon reef system that I'm building for a client. This is going to be the structural component for the stand, which is going to take these 3/4 inch oak hardwood plywood pieces that I already cut on my table saw, and it's going to turn them into this, which is a solid secure platform on which to build the aquarium. Now this is just the structural part, it's not the aesthetic part. The client will choose what form of surround that's going to go around this later on, but for the moment we're going to start with the build. These three pieces comprise one of the two ends, and I will assemble them together and then use them as a table basically to attach the bottom and the top. The first two pieces here are the back, which is facing the camera, and an end piece which is facing me. I use a corner clamp to secure things in place. If you just tighten it down a little bit, it allows you to move things around and adjust until you have everything square and flush where you like it. And then once you tighten it down completely, it holds everything firmly in place and allows me to use the drill to screw in the wood screws without moving things around. The screws for this particular project are going to be number 10 1.5" wood screws. Because of the quality and the thickness of the wood being used here, I don't need to pre-drill the holes. But if you're inexperienced using a drill and screws, you may want to mark the centers for the holes, which will be in 3/8 inches in, because it's a 3/4 inch plywood. I tend to first add 2 screws to one side, keeps the wood nice and secure, and then what I'll do is I'll remove the clamp and I will flip it over and use the clamp again on the other side and put the final screws in. I like to do the final tightening for the screws by hand. This does two things for me. First off, it makes sure that it won't overstrip the screws so that they're not actually doing any work at all. Also, because of the beveled heads that are on this particular kind of screw, it makes sure that I bring them down flush. This ensures that the screws are out of the way for anything that I add afterwards, like the surround. So what we're going to do is we're going to flip this over now, and sometimes when you do this, if your wood is not straight, which wood often isn't, you're going to end up looking down at something like this. Now, I initially intended on showing you how with the corner clamp you can gradually take this bend out, but unfortunately the camera did not cooperate and almost all of that was out of focus. So all you're going to get to see is the last step. What you do is you loosen the clamp, you slide the pieces out so that your next screw hole where it's going to be is flush. You put the screw in, and then you loosen the clamp and you slide again, and in series basically gradually take out that bend. So you're getting to see the last one here. I've tightened down the clamp, I'm putting the screw in, I'm going to hand tighten the last little step, and then I'll take the clamp off and I'll show you an overview. Unfortunately, like I said, I wanted to show you all the steps, but you get only to see the last one. So now looking down from the top, you get to see that it's all nice and straight. This process gets repeated for the third piece, and then for the entire other end. What you end up with are two 3-sided boxes, which look like this. And then what you do is you put the top on, and then with numerous small adjustments, get it in the proper place. The nice thing about 3/4 inch ply is it's quite heavy, so once you have it in place, it doesn't really move that much. This makes it much easier to screw the top down. Now, I'm doing a lot of fiddling here, but the most important thing to remember is you don't have to make it all completely and totally flush all the way around, because actually I think it's probably impossible to do. The important bit is to make sure that the part where you're putting the first screw in is true to where you want it to be. Then after you put that screw in, you can make some more small increments for where the next screw is going to go, and so on and so forth. That way, as it was with the side where you had to take out small imperfections or bends, you can do that gradually as well. So first screw's in now, and I'm checking for it being true. I have to make a small adjustment here. And then once I have it where I like it, I'll drop the screw, and then we'll put it in properly. There you go. Now this process is going to continue all the way around. I'm not going to show you all the holes because there's really no point of that, but I'm going to show you a few more simply because, well, I did film it all and I don't want this video to be 5 minutes long. Once all the screws are in, I will go around with the hand screwdriver and make sure they're all seated properly, that none of them are stripped, make sure they're all flush. And then once that's all done, I will flip this thing over and repeat the process for the other side. Now this is getting quite heavy at this point, but I do manage to get it over without hurting myself or anything else. And there we go. It's actually quite solid at this point. So now what I'm going to do is I am going to get the final piece, call it top or bottom, whichever you like, and put it into place. The nice thing about this style of build is it's bilaterally symmetrical, so it doesn't make any difference. All that matters is it has a back and a front. And again, I'll go through the same process as before. I'll make small increments, and then once I have things where I like it, I'll start putting screws in. If you look at the container screws, you can see that it's getting quite empty. That was full when I started, so there's been quite a few put into this project. And again, there's really nothing new here. Just make sure when you put the first screw in, it's square where you want it to be. Apparently I didn't like that, so I'm going to make some adjustments. And then once you have it square there, put that screw in, and then check for where the second screw is going to go on and so forth. Put the screw down, checking with my fingers. Apparently I like it. And put the screw, oh, wait a minute, small adjustment. There we go. And third screw. Once you have the first couple in, at least for the end bit, you're going to find that the last couple are most likely going to be good. And then when you go to the side, you're going to find that there may be small changes once you get away from the corner. But for the first screw it should be quite straightforward. And then as you get further out you may have to double check. But it seems to be good, so we're going to put that one in as well. And then the third one. And then again the same will be done for the back. And also for the other end. Now the reason why I build stands this way is it's built on a principle of direct transference of weight, which I decided to demonstrate. I took my shoes off of this because, well, I didn't want to scuff up the top of the stand, even though it's never going to get seen. So basically, no joint supports weight. So all the weight is directly transferred through wood directly to the ground. Now, as an important note, when I was bouncing up and down, the stand only has about half of its total reinforcing structures put on at that point. Now I'm going to be adding 3 more pieces. Notably at this point will be the one on the back. So what I do is I'll measure the center for the stand, and then because these pieces are 9 inches wide, I'll come out 4.5 inches on each side of that center line, and I'll mark those, and then I'll put the center piece in. At this point in the build, the 2 front supports will not be put in because, as you remember from the first video, I still have to install the filtration system, and that won't be done until after I'm at the client's. So they will be done later. Just some small incremental adjustments here. I have to excuse the fact that I'm using the old knee clamp here to hold it down in place, but there really is very little in the way of things for us to move, because there's a fair amount of force just simply from the plywood holding it down. And then once I get these screws in place, I will flip it over and screw in the bottom, or the top, depending on how you want to look at it. Even though I'm not showing it anymore, each and every one of these screw holes is hand tested. Now you may have noticed that when I put this piece in, there really wasn't much in the way of deflection. That's because the ends are much wider on the back than they are in the front, so there really isn't much of a span for the wood to sag. Even though this is 3/4 inch ply, it will deflect. And you'll notice that in the front, as we flip this thing around and I put a level on it, even though this is an extreme close-up, there's almost 1/8 of an inch of deflection. Now when I put in the 2 supports, That deflection will disappear, of course, and everything will be flush. Now we're getting close to the end of this build. There's one important thing left to do, and that is to cut the holes where the filtration system is going to go through to the tank. Now this video is getting a little bit long in one piece, so I've decided to cut it into two. So in part 2 I will deal with drilling all those holes. So thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the second part of this video for the rest of it. Hey everybody, thank you for watching my video. If you liked it, please slap a like below, or if you want to see more of this type of video or some of my other work, please subscribe to my channel. And I will see you there. Thank you very much for watching. Bye for now.